Chapter 3. Bangmir Duan Yen. I Don't Understand. Bunjil soared through the sky to a place far, far away. The stars became long streams of glowing white. Where was he taking her? Garamili held on tightly and buried her head in his soft feathers as time and space sped around them. Suddenly, Bunjil changed directions and plummeted downwards. Bunjil broke through the clouds, leaving the stars behind. He glided majestically through thick mist to the ground and landed gently on top of a grassy hill. It was so green, a green that Garamili had never seen before. She climbed carefully off Bunjil's back and touched the cold and unfamiliar earth. Where was she? Garamili could see stone in the distance in the shape of a hut with dirt and leaves on the roof, a similar shape to her hut at home. Garamili had travelled back in time to 43 AD, and to a land across many seas. She was in a country called Britannia. Bunjil leant over and whispered in her ear, "This is the land of the Celts. Over 1,000 years ago. This is where the English language began. It is the language of the white visitors. English has changed a lot over time. If you want to understand the strangers, you must learn their whole story." Garamili was confused as she scanned the unfamiliar landscape. In the distance, she saw a dark, wild ocean. She had heard songs about the ocean, but she had never seen it at her home near Ballarat. Her heart pounded with fear and excitement. She turned to Bunjil with her questions, but he was gone. Garamili walked carefully down the hill. She noticed a small village in the distance where people prepared food, repaired roofs on their stone huts, and laughed together as they worked. As Garamili neared the village, she noticed a beautiful tree where she could sit and rest. It was so different to any tree that she had ever seen. It had strong, wide branches, was bursting with lush green leaves, and was home to many animals. Garamili always felt connected to trees. As Garamili sat, she watched the strange creatures that lived in the tree. As she reached out to touch a small animal that bounced past her feet, a group of small children raced up from the village and yelled something that Garamili did not understand. At first she thought they were running to her, but she quickly realized that they were chasing a small animal. They did not seem to notice Garamili. She was invisible. The animal scurried quickly out of sight. The children laughed and continued on their hunt. Two small children stayed behind and climbed the tree. She listened to their unfamiliar chatter. She heard words including crag and brat, which made no sense to her. Suddenly, all the children ran back to the village. Garamili decided to follow them. As she approached the village, she noticed a small bird fluttered after her. Garamili stopped and watched the small bird as it whistled towards her. The bird slowed and landed on her shoulder. Garamili was surprised by the confidence of such a small creature. The bird gazed into her eyes and whispered, "I am a robin. I sense that you are on a quest for understanding. I will guide you while you are visiting my country. I will help you understand our story." As they walked together, Robin continued, "Celtic people believe that all parts of the natural world contain spirits. Celtic people have a very strong connection to trees." Garamili recognized that she had a lot in common with these strangers and was excited to learn more. As Garamili walked through the village, the robin buried itself in her warm cloak. It peeked its head out from a gap in the cloak, ready to fly ahead if needed. Robin sensed that the possum skin cloak held many stories. Smoke rose out of the top of the huts. Some men were gathered outside and spoke excitedly about something Garamili did not understand. She entered the doorway of the hut where she saw a fire burning in the center, with some food boiling in a pot. Garamili watched as a family shared a meal together. She found a soft bed of dry bundled grass to sit on, while the family shared stories of their day. She listened carefully to their words and the sounds of their language. There was an older woman sitting amongst them who began to sing. It was like nothing Garamili had ever heard before, so soft and gentle, and seemed to fill the hut with wisdom and wonder. The robin rested on Garamili's lap and whispered, "The Celts tell stories through their songs. These words will soon be gone. This language will struggle to survive as people stop speaking it. Garamili did not understand why people would stop speaking a language so beautiful, but she did not want to talk over the singing, so she did not ask any questions. When darkness fell and night set in, Garamili walked wearily back to the tree. The stars appeared slowly in the sky, and she noticed how different they were to her home. Garamili wondered if Bunjil was up there, watching her. She wrapped herself tightly in her possum skin cloak, while the animals bounded over and settled in beside her. The robin flew to the top branch of the tree and watched over Garamili as she drifted off to sleep. Garamili woke suddenly. The village was in chaos. Children and the elderly were running to the forest nearby. They looked scared and desperate. Garamili wrapped herself tightly in her cloak. The air was still cold and damp from the night. She noticed men in the distance, different men who wore armor and red clothes. A large ship had stormed the beach nearby. More men in red waded in unison through the water to the shore. Who were they? Men and women from the village rushed forwards to meet them with swords and tools drawn. Garamili ran through the village, worried, confused. Everything was abandoned. As she reached the far side of the village, she saw the start of a great battle. As she got closer to the shouting, Garamili realized there were two different languages mixing in the air. The invaders roared in a different language altogether. The Celts must have been just as confused as Garamili was. If only they could communicate with each other, they might not have to fight. Garamili felt her heart pounding. She didn't know what to do. Should she go and hide with the children in the forest? As she turned and ran, she noticed the robin hopping towards her. Follow me. Robin guided her to Bunjil, who was nestled on a moist grass nearby. She ran to him and climbed on his soft back. Together they flew through the thick dark clouds towards the stars. He whispered, "They are the Romans. They have invaded this place before. They are back for a third time to take over the land." Bunjil and Garamili flew so fast through the stars, his feathers barely moving. Her eyes closed tight as she clasped her possum skin cloak. Garamili thought about the people and the animals that she had seen in the land below. She hoped that the families hiding in the forest would be okay. She thought of their songs and their beautiful language. How could anyone want to destroy them? Exhausted with worry, but feeling safe with the great eagle, Garamili nestled into Bunjil's warm feathers and drifted into a deep sleep.